reiterate again, our main focus for this session is really to hear from directly from businesses in Scotland that Zero Waste Scotland has been supporting, or partners that we have in the landscape have been supporting over the last couple of years, to hear from them, because they are businesses that are, when I say doing the circular economy, they have, shown initiative, been pioneering, leading from the front, and not just because they had an idea or wanted to reframe their business. It is all about tackling climate emissions. It's all about creating jobs as well. Probably something we could possibly talk about. The jobs, the economic opportunity that these businesses are creating. So just the best way to start this is really, because I could introduce you, but I feel it's always better that you introduce yourself, more importantly introduce your business as well. Just give us a flavour of what it's doing, where you are at this moment on that journey. I'll give you a few minutes each, and then maybe we'll just kind of open up and have a broader discussion around, everybody says, let's talk about some of the challenges you've faced. I'd rather talk about the opportunities that you see, both for your own individual businesses. Once we get into the kind of discussion, what do you see are those opportunities for you, and also for your sector? Now, I know that you think, well, but you're in the cosmetic sector, so to speak, packaging sector, so where do you see this, where's the end of this, or is there no end? Let's just start to imagine exactly how much of an impact we can have from Scotland. So I'm going to start with you, Joe, since you're on the left. Sorry, the microphone. Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Anyway, I'll use it. Hi, everybody. My name's Jo Chidley. I'm the co-founder of Beauty Kitchen and Return, Refill, Repeat. So I'm just going to give you some big stats because, although they can seem irrelevant, it just gives you an idea of, one, the size of the problem, but two, the size of the opportunity. So the personal care industry generates 190 billion single pieces of plastic packaging every year. Less than 9% of that is recycled. I don't know how many zeros that is. It's just wrong. Yeah, but the opportunity for reusable packaging is huge. Yeah, and that's really what we wanted to do with Beauty Kitchen. So Beauty Kitchen is an indie beauty brand. If you've not bought any, then please do, because you'll get it in reusable packaging. And what do we mean by that? Well, it means using glass, aluminium, and stainless steel. Yeah, that's the materials that we wanted to highlight and shine a light on, rather than getting into the recycling doesn't work, plastic doesn't work. Rather than us talking about that, let's talk about something that's positive. We also have the data points in terms of how often do you need to reuse something that's glass or aluminium or stainless steel, for that matter, for it to have either the same or less greenhouse gas emissions. And you'd be probably quite surprised by the results. And that's where Zero Waste Scotland did help us to get those data points. So for stainless steel, you don't even need to have it reused. You only need to return it to us. And it's actually got a lower greenhouse gas emission than a single-use piece of plastic. Now, you might think, well, wait a minute, whoa. Steel's really heavy, and you're transporting around, and it uses a lot of energy to make it in the first place. We've considered all of those data points, and that is the truth. Aluminium, different. It's 3 times it needs to be reused, and glass only has to be returned to us. But if you have a look in your bathroom, or you have a look in your kitchen, or if you even maybe go to a supermarket, you will struggle to find things in reusable packaging. So the question really is, how can we make that opportunity, move at the pace that it needs to move? And that's why it was really interesting to hear such positiveness from the previous panel on accessing finance. So I'll be looking for those people after this panel.
Hi, I've got a lot of stats there. Thank you for that. So I'm Craig Sterling. I'm with Kuhn-Tech. We've developed a technology where we can actually extract very valuable materials from shellfish and from other food waste. So there's 150 billion tons of shellfish waste produced per year, for instance, if you want to start using statistics. So she's going to fire me up on stats. I have a lot. But most of that is actually incinerated because it has to be, because of the fact that it's a biological material. So we're actually able to eliminate that incineration, take and capture all the ingredients with it, and we utilize one of the key ingredients while letting our partners valorize the others. But we use chitin to create packaging, single-use packaging replacements. to eliminate, this significant problem of plastic, where there's actually more plastic waste used per year than there is in weight than there is the weight of all the people on the planet by about 30%. So that's a significant number, amount if you think about that number, and that's expected to double by 2035. So that's a pretty significant statistic. But we actually have a single-use plastic replacement for food packaging that is naturally antimicrobial, that is ocean-friendly, biodegradable, and actually can help extend the shelf life of fresh baked goods and other products that we sell. So that's our core technology.
Hi, my name's Michael Cusack. I head up sustainability and business transformation at ACS. Allegedly, our industry is the second most polluting industry in the world, the fashion industry. You hear stories about lakes being dried up, rivers poisoned, and you hear about slave labour and poor working conditions. You just have to Google Leicester and the fashion industry to get your eyes wide open. But there is hope, and our company is one of the companies in the country that are actually driving that. We provide rental clothes services and renewal. In terms of rental clothes, we started out in 1997 with formal menswear. We now offer these services to other companies, so we provide the infrastructure in terms of clothes rental. And what we mean by that is that we do the sanitizing, the cleaning, the finishing, the shipping of the garments. So we create that circular operation. We've undergone Ellen MacArthur Foundation's Circulytics tool to prove that. We've audited our system. We're continually improving it. We're a carbon neutral business. And my whole raison d'etre is to get to net zero by 2025. And I think we will. We'll be driving a lot of energy in it. But don't underestimate, the challenges in it. What I would also say is that we're focused on the social ethics, social justice, working with the local communities and creating talent pipelines of people who are disadvantaged and bring them into our workforce to help grow our business, to make us more sustainable.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's Douglas Martin from MyAlgae, and at MyAlgae we produce omega-3 oils off of the co-products of the whiskey industry. So like Mark earlier, who we know quite well, we effectively take the residues off the whiskey industry, where there's about 10 to 20 times the amount of these residues to the amount of alcohol produced. So as that industry grows, they have a never-ending increase in co-products they have to get rid of. And we take that and we use it as a fermentation media for an algae, hence in the name, I guess. And that algae produces omega-3s. And I think the key bit for us is that every ton of algae we produce, we save 30 tons of fish. And those 30 tons of fish come from West Africa, come from South America, and the shipping miles and the CO2 used and the rest of it, besides looking at all the ocean-friendly piece and the fact that you're literally taking out the bottom of the food chain, those fish never produce the omega-3s in the first place. They get it from accumulating it by eating things that eat algae. And so for us, it's kind of how do you build in that business model that really allows us to drive down the prices of omega-3s. And I think some of the circular economy piece for us comes back to not so much the heart is good. And if you can drive a really good heart and you can get a really good business that's got a green center, it doesn't matter how much money you make, the whole thing seems to tick around.
Thank you, Ian, for having us here. David Farcher, I'm the Chief Executive of Intelligent Growth Solutions, IGS. We're the vertical farm company that's had quite a lot of publicity in the last couple of years. Ian's asked me to be positive. In order for me to do that, I'm going to have to start with the challenges that we are tackling. So, exponential growth in human population. So it was, whatever it was, 4 billion when I was born in 1958. It is going to be 10 billion by the time my daughter is 50 in 2050. It's not going in a straight line. The effect of that exponential curve is that, and this is the one you're not going to believe, we have to grow more food in the next 30 years than the previous 10,000. Look it up, do the maths, but you can Google it. It's all over the internet, and it's been proven. So how the hell are we going to do that at a time when the impact of industries like agriculture, which is now the most polluting, it was travel, but travel has been, suppressed by the virus. So agriculture is now the most polluting industry in the world, and it's the thing that's causing the climate change, which is causing dreadful events like very high winds, like flooding and all this kind of stuff, which is washing away the very soil in which we need to try and grow crop. We grow 76% of everything we eat on a different continent from where it is consumed. And overall, the food industry, which you can analyze down to developed versus developing world, different food types, different regions of the world, throws away 1/3 of everything that it produces. Okay, it never even gets eaten. Nursery level growing is even worse. 40% of all soft and vine fruits, starter plants, are never planted. They're just thrown away because they're diseased, pest damaged. In forestry, it's even worse. 60% is thrown away. So, and I could go on and on and on. What is the positive side of this? So part of our positive impact is we will never grow crop for commercial sale. I made that covenant with the market when I took this business over 4 years ago. So we empower local farmers all around the world to grow what their local people need. We didn't invent agriculture in Scotland or the US of A. It was invented between the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Jordan Valley and the Nile Valley. So let's have a bit of respect and give those people a way to grow the food that they really need. So that's part of our positive impact. The other side of it is that we can do it with zero emissions. So Terry Ahern at SEPA came up and said, this is the cleanest industrial process I've ever seen. There is nothing for SEPA to license here. So we have this 3 E's thing. If you can't grow excellent quality food, don't plant the seed. If it's not economically viable, don't plant the seed. And if you're going to destroy the environment in the process, don't plant the seed. But if you buy one of our farms, go ahead, plant the seed. So to be really positive, we just announced our Series B funding round last week, or rather the First Minister did for us. We went to market for 15 million, and so my positive thing is going to be from a thing we did with SCDI this morning. Let's get the ambition much higher. They say that they want 250 million into clean tech by 2025. We've raised 55 million on our own. So let's get the targets higher. And the wifey from PwC absolutely agreed with me. So we went to market for 15 million. We received 300 million in term sheets, all of them unsolicited. And they valued the company at 10x what it was valued at 2 years ago when we did our Series A. So 70 investors approached us. We didn't spend 1 penny marketing the round. I interviewed them all. We gave tours to 25. 12 of them gave us term sheets totaling that 300 million. And in the end, against our target of 15, we took 42 million, because that will massively enable us to accelerate our business. So we've got 4 American investors, a Swiss investor, Scottish Venture Fund, and DC Thompson. So super, super excited. There is ESG money, clean tech money, green tech money, impact money all around the world, desperate to find a home, right? We don't need government support for that type of thing. We can go and do this, so we can be good capitalists and, get this thing right and clean up what the previous generation of capitalists got wrong.
Okay, thank you. Is that it? So that's really interesting, and I guess so. If we because this is about businesses, so I guess I'm intrigued. David, to some extent, has demonstrated that that there is money out there that is looking for a home, so to speak, for the right home. But I guess when you all spoke, you all kind of touched upon the issue, the packaging not getting recycled, the fish, importing of fish, the fashion industry, the food challenge that we all have. And we kind of live and breathe that, obviously, in COP26. And that kind of drives your business. But what really drives the business part of the business? I mean, what is it? Is it the customers? Is it the supply chain? Is it the investors who are looking, to invest in something like this? Or is it, I don't know, is it the government asking you to do something? I guess I'm making sense. What's driving the business bit of your business rather than the issue? Is it clear, or is it different for all of you? Or is it you? Is it you that's driving the business, if you know what I mean?
Well, it's always the founders, I think, or the management team, whatever that's made up of. They have to have a passion for what they're doing and the changes that they're making, because let's face it, yeah, it's not a level playing field, is it? If you run a linear economy business, yeah, you can make things at the cheapest that you want and sell them at the biggest price that you want without any consideration for the environment or for the social aspect, for example. But if I use Beauty Kitchen as an example, what we've done here is we talk about this as a demonstrator brand. So it's to demonstrate to the personal care industry, of which 98% of that turnover is generated through 8 companies. And out of those 8 companies, 7 of them are the biggest plastic polluters in the world. Yeah, there's some joining of the dots here. So when we produced the reusable packaging system, we did that not just for Beauty Kitchen. Beauty Kitchen demonstrated what was possible, but to go out to the industry to change the industry. And that's really the driver for us. We are a B Corp certified business. We're one of the highest scoring in the world. We're the highest scoring personal care in Europe. And what B Corp means is that we've written into our articles of association that we need to look after people, planet, and profit in equal weighting. Yeah, so that keeps us, if some people say keeps us honest, I think I'm honest anyway. But what we want to do is change the industry. And the big thing for us, although there's lots of things within the beauty industry, the food industry, the packaging industry that could be changed, for us, we're focusing in on reusable packaging. And that's what drives me, is that reusable packaging. However, there is a lot to do.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's definitely the founders and the management team that helps drive it. I mean, it's a lot of sacrifice that goes into doing this, you know. It's a long journey. It's a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of 7-day weeks. But it's because you're passionate about it. You know, I've been passionate about the environment my whole life. I'm an outdoors person. I love going out and enjoying skiing and diving. And, you know, when you come up from diving, and you're just surrounded by plastic, you know, and you have an ability to do something about it, that's the time to act. You know, when I was interviewing for this position, when I was considering taking over this company, you know, I was actually interviewing for a position with an environmental organization in California. So I decided to go from sunny California instead to here because another West Coast, not quite as sunny as California's West Coast. However, I could have a bigger impact, right? There is certainly an impact and a very near and dear organization to me, but I have the ability here to actually eliminate environmental impact, right? And that passion is what drives me. It's what drives my team, every single person in our company. And the other part that drives the business is the consumer. I'm really happy to see businesses that are starting to look for this. You know, we have some really strong partnerships. I have never been involved with a company that has an uptake for a product like we already have. You know, if we can bring out a single-use plastic replacement, the market's already there. I don't have to do the marketing. You know, I don't have to worry about that. What I need to worry about is capital and helping me build my facilities, getting it right. But it's great to see passion from the consumer as well. Passion from companies, you know, excite me. So, but I would definitely say it's the management team at first.
Yeah, but I guess, I mean, it's come along. I mean, it's interesting because we've all watched, was it Dragon's Den on the telly, where there's lots of passionate people, you know, burning flames, don't they? Because their numbers don't add up, or they haven't thought about their market, or they don't know where they're going to sell it. So it's how does that start to, you know, is the passion's obviously there across all of the businesses, you know, we can hear that, but I guess I'm interested, what then drives it on? Is it the customer base, as you've just said, or is it, you know, financiers, or what else that takes it to the next level?
I would think it would have to be the consumer for us anyways, as the consumer, because companies can want to do it, governments can want to do it, but it takes people wanting to do it. You know, it takes when you're at the store and you have a choice between this packaging, for instance, or this packaging, this cosmetic or this one, and you make the conscious decision. You know, marketing shows that 79% of the time, those that have the ability to purchase one that is environmentally friendly or has an impact versus the other, they will make that choice to make that decision, that purchasing power. So I think it has to start with the consumer. That's where that's where everything drives, right? That's where the large base comes from. It's from the grassroots. It's the start of, you know, from there going up. You know, it's great to see Glasgow removing single-use plastics, right? That's great, but it takes every city in the world to do that versus consumers, when they're at the store, they have the opportunity to immediately purchase a product and eliminate everything that goes with that. When they decide to purchase, you know, clothing instead of reusing clothing, decide to use, you know, cosmetics that are reusable. Those are things that make an impact. Eventually, companies will have to respond because a lot of companies aren't responding yet. We're seeing here, obviously, a lot of companies respond, right? Because that's what we're at. We're at a United Nations Conference for Environment. However, go to Dubai, let me know what that conference looks like, in the UAE. It's a little bit different, the oil and gas industries aren't as motivated. So, but the consumers will eventually force them. Electricity, electric cars, all these different things that have impact. It starts, I think, with the consumer and with the people.
Okay, so talking about clothing, because obviously you'd think, us Scots, we're used to hiring our kilts and all that sort of stuff, but that's obviously been the market in the past. How is that developing then in terms of other types of clothing?
Well, I mean, we've actually got kilts that have been hired 80 times, so you can imagine the impact that's had in the environment. I mean, what I would say to you is that in terms of hire, I mean, our traditional model wasn't doing as well up to 2018. Fast fashion was tearing away at us. We made an unsuccessful venture into America. We ended up inherited a lot of debt. The previous owners left, and then all of a sudden we had this sort of road to Damascus. We sort of said, what business are we in? And we started looking and we said, wait a minute, we're a circular business. We're embracing sustainability, and it happened actually at a Vibes dinner. And we said, see next year, let's apply for this, let's do it. So we started working on it, we started looking at take it. First thing, we eliminated all waste going to landfill. That was the first thing. We started reducing, working with your team, Ian, we actually replaced all the lights to LED lights. We went through it, and we started looking at the market. We started reaching out, and we suddenly realised there's a market for women's wear. There's a market for baby wear. There's a market for outdoor wear, like salopettes for children. Why buy them when you can actually reuse them over and over? And we started to grow that market, and we started reaching out and contacting a lot of people. When other companies were all worrying about the lockdown and the coronavirus, we spent all our time reaching out to all these different businesses, including a company in America called Castle. And Castle, for those of you who don't know, are the second biggest in the US, next to Rent the Runway. They're now working with us in partnership in the UK. We've already got our first clients, LK Bennett and Moss Brothers in formal wear for men's. And it's really taken off. On top of them, we've actually got a business plan in place that will triple our turnover from 2019. On top of that, we're also looking at renewal. You hear all these horror stories about Brexit, and I do think Brexit's a terrible thing, but you hear all this business going to Amsterdam. Do you know what? We've reversed it. We've actually got an American company, I can't say who it is, an American company coming from Amsterdam to Scotland to do renewals. So we're taking all that work on board. On renewals, we're partnering. You talk about collaboration. We're collaborating with fast fashion. ASOS have given us 10,000 items every week to renew. So that's already started in our business. So you're looking at that. Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
So the big thing about us is just getting bigger and bigger. We've got all these start-up companies all over the UK. We've already got plans to move into Europe, and we're already in discussions regarding that. We could do another plant in the UK to do renewals as well, because renewals is a bit more complicated. Well, the big thing about it is, but I would say the thing that really heartens me, and I would always say, we feel we're part of something a lot bigger. This isn't about profit. And I know that might sound a bit twee to others, oh, he's just saying that, but it's true. One of the things is that gives me the greatest pleasure is when I come in the morning and I see some of the young people, and a lot of them are registered disabled. They've got, things like autism and learning difficulties, and they're now working. They're working away in our factory. There was nobody there before, and over the last 6 months, 16% of our workforce, we've more than doubled our workforce on the work that we brought in at a time when other companies are batting down the hatches, reducing their expenses, and what we're doing is investing in our people and investing in nice green processes and driving towards net zero. And we will achieve it by 2025, because I tell you, if you asked me in 2018 that we would actually be here right now talking about carbon neutral certification, Circulytics being a circular business, I'd have laughed at you. So I know we will achieve that by 2025.
Okay. Well, yeah, just before that, great, because just a warning, I'm going to talk about collaboration, so we might come back to that point around working with ASOS. So another thing I just have to, I don't know if I had to admit with you, because my jeans, you'll notice my jeans, everybody, I lease my jeans from a company in Amsterdam because there wasn't or isn't a company in Scotland that does that, Mud Jeans. So for a small monthly fee, I get a pair of jeans that I get to send back every year and get a new pair if I want, or retain them and all that sort of stuff. But they are struggling because of Brexit to maintain their UK footprint. There's another story. There's another opportunity, I think. So maybe we should have a chat afterwards. Anyway, lovely jeans. So anyway, Michael.
Yeah, I think from our side, certainly it's customer driven. I don't think any of us have a business without our customers. And
Is that a consumer?
consumer. I mean, but I suppose as a circular economy company, we have effectively two customers. And so we've got partnerships on the front end with the whiskey co-products and customers off the back end with the omega-3 side, and making sure those two line up and that we're producing something for both of them that adds value. Means that we can raise the funding that we need to go and scale and to hire more people and to do good in the world. Without either of those and without the money coming in from either of those, really, we can't do anything.
Yeah, I guess we are absolutely market-driven. If you think about our customers, there are three types. There's a new breed of wannabe urban farmers. There are traditional broadacre field farmers who are not necessarily growing, fruit and veg. We've got one in Galloway that's a dairy farmer. He's built an AD plant. He uses a cattle slurry to generate energy, and will use that to power the vertical farm and use that to feed cafes, artisan food producers down in Galloway. So, and then the final one is people growing in greenhouses, so soft fruits, vine fruits. And going back to that point about the problems with the starter plants, same for the forestry. Wherever we are in the world, and we're now on 4 continents, so we're North America, Europe, Asia, and ANZ, and we're building farms in those places. And we've got projects for Latin America and Africa as well. It really depends on what the crop is. It really depends upon whether it's rural or urban or whatever, and what the climate is as to what is driving or motivating these people. But food ends up in your belly through one of 4 routes, either hospitality, contract catering, like in a hospital or something, food retail, or food manufacture, unless you actually are growing your own or you're going and foraging. So we've got these 3 kinds of customers, 4 kinds of off-takers, and it's that supply chain that drags us along. There's a book called Crossing the Chasm, very famous from the 90s, about the adoption of new technology categories. Our sector is just moving from push to pull. So we spent 2 or 3 years really pushing at the market. Now we're getting inquiries for 50, 80, 100, 200 tower systems that will be visible from space. And we can grow, the farmer can grow in 42 square meters of footprint, the same as 3.5 to 4 hectares. And they can do it with 1 liter of water, what a greenhouse takes 20 and a field takes 250. So there are all these kind of drivers. The final thing I would say, that there is an absolute passion amongst our crew to do this. They all want a job, most of them have invested in the company, most of them have options as well, but they are absolutely passionate about our purpose. I'm a chef to trade, I'm a mountaineer by habit, and I was retired, and when I saw this thing, food crosses climate change, I came out of retirement to run this thing. And what I would say is it takes 15 people to score a try, twice yesterday. And so it takes all kinds of different people. So it's a crew of many, many talents and huge diversity. And so I've just listed a whole bunch of things, and I think we're driven by all of them.
Good. So that was another question I was going to ask. Skills. What's in all of your ventures, is that something that is an issue to get the right skills into your business, both in terms of on the shop floor, so to speak, but also in the boardroom or in partners or awareness of what this is all about? Is there a particular, or is it just are people coming to this with the right skills or with the right enthusiasm or even mindset? I mean, in a previous couple of events I've been, that's come up a lot, that a lot of this isn't okay, skills are important, you know, hard skills, educational skills, all the things that we need to be training people, but actually it's a mindset thing. Once people have really got into the mindset, it kind of accelerates quite quickly.
Okay, very quickly, if we go
Yeah,
back
yeah,
that way.
that way.
Okay, so under lockdown, we've gone from 25 people to 150, from 0 sales to 50 million of sales, and from 1 facility to 4 continents. So we've done that in the last 18 months. That's all been driven by this crew. We are struggling a bit with software development and deployment skills. There is not enough of that in Scotland. But the good news is Scotland is somewhere you can attract people to. So we've got about 20 nationalities. I would say about 20% of our people did not live in Scotland before they joined IGS. So I'm hopeful that we can continue to attract great people. But we're probably going to have to open a second software development centre outside of Edinburgh because we're just not getting quite enough people fast enough.
I think from our side as a biotech technology, really, the key skill that we haven't seen is a lot of fermentation scientists, a lot of people coming out with the level of expertise to actually be able to drive the tech home and take it from, effectively, we're at that commercial demonstrator stage now into that full scale-up site from a bioprocess fermentation side. And I think that there's been a lot of drive within the universities to look at synthetic biology and to look at some of these more, I suppose, service-driven, exciting bits of tech. And there's kind of been a drop-off in terms of that hardcore fermentation. How do you grow microbes at scale with billions of cells and make sure that it's the same process every time and time and again? And I think that for us has obviously been a key challenge. And I think Craig will at some point say something similar in terms of that hardcore piece there. And I suppose it is similar to the software side. It's kind of being dragged out into some of the rather large corporates. I mean, for us, it's some of the big biotechs, not quite Google or Amazon, but similar concepts. And I think with COVID, we've actually seen an increasing problem there because you've got a lot of vaccine manufacture now. So you've got this pool of scientists effectively out of the country.
We might not be a high-tech business, but we've got severe skill shortages. And we recognised that a few years ago with Brexit, we lost a lot of our highly skilled Polish ethnic workers. And they were tremendous work attitude, and they came over here with high skills. What we decided to do was to create our own talent pipeline. And what we did was we first of all got an SQA centre approval. We now deliver up to 6 qualifications, one of them being a garment repair. What we've done is we partner with the local universities. So in the area, we work with all the universities. We use things like knowledge transfer partnerships. We work with other local organisations like Zero Waste Scotland in terms of your Green Champion programme, bringing the expertise in. Home Energy Scotland, about ways in which you can actually reduce energy. So we partner with them. So we've developed a lot of development programmes. And through our partnerships, the other one as well is that we got and we work towards is an infrastructure around disability. I don't know if you've heard of it, but we're now a disability confident leader. We're a real living wage employer as well. We want to do the right things, and these models are there and we follow them. And we invest heavily in them. At this point in time, we're actually partnering with the local college. And we have 17 young disabled people from the local community who are working with us for a year to 2 years on a VQ programme, and at the end of it, we'll employ them. The other thing that we're looking at is we're working with, on the same programme as Joe, the No Limits programme as well for young disabled people. We're looking at a programme right now in partnership with Glasgow Caledonian University and the councils on refugees. So what we're looking at are disadvantaged people, but giving them opportunities. And there are many, many benefits in that, and we're already seeing it. We're adapting our training methodologies to suit the individual and adopting the roles as well around the individual. So young people with autism, do you know what incredible skills these individuals and contribution they can make in things like garment repair? The speed at which they can repair a garment is blindingly fast. It's incredible. And these are people that are normally shunned in our society. Well, what I would say to you is incredible talent. So the big thing about it is creating the infrastructure. We've got it in place. We've got the talent pipeline, and we're looking at a 5-fold growth based on our 2020 labour projections. So 5 times, and that's going to increase our business. And we are in total control of that, and we are delivering real green jobs within our company. And we're, the bottom line is that it's going to help not just us, but the local community as well.
Yeah, I would agree with what Douglas was saying. I mean, absolutely. For us, we're a cutting edge biotech. So we've had to develop, if you develop packaging right now, if you were to develop a plastic, packaging, there's material out there. You don't have to worry about finding that material. We had to develop the material itself. The raw material was something that we had to develop. So, and we have the world's first all-natural biological method that actually yields the complete biopolymer. So that is something that obviously not people, are not already skilled in doing. So it's hard to find people who can come in but we teach them, right? We find the right people who have the willingness to adapt their knowledge, willingness to adapt their education, and that's the way you have to look at it. So you have to be creative in your recruiting, because you can't just put a job post out and fulfill, can you do these things? Well, no one's gonna respond to that because, no, I haven't done this because I've never even heard that you could do that, right? So that's a problem. And then on the other side, we've also have to use that biomaterial that we've created to develop a biofilm. And so, again, we do the same thing. We have to recruit from the standpoint where you can adapt your skill set. So we have to be kind of broad in what we're looking for, but it takes a lot of time. It takes a long time for us to recruit someone for these top positions that we need in the scientific or in the biofilm department. When we advertised for our NPD team, our new product development scientists, it took us months to get the right people to come in. But when you do, if they share that passion and they understand that they could adapt their skills, then you're on then you're on the road and you're on your way. So. It's definitely something different because of the fact that we're on the cutting edge. A little harder to recruit. You just have to be persistent, though, and persevere. But there's a lot of people that want to be involved in it. So.
Okay, Joe.
I'll be quick. So we made a lot of mistakes with recruitment because we recruited from our industry, which was the personal care and beauty industry, and it was the worst mistake that I have ever made, ever. Yeah, because people in personal care and beauty just don't have any interest in sustainability. Now, that was back in 2014, and I've been doing everything to push the industry to become more sustainable, so that will happen. But for me, it was looking at people that had a true interest in sustainability. And I know that's quite a broad term, but it just depends what it is. For us, it's very much within the chemical engineering, for example. We're Cradle to Cradle certified, and anyone that has an interest in Cradle to Cradle, then we know would be the right fit for our business. But yeah, it's not easy. However, we don't actually have talent shortages, but I'm almost wanting to keep that to myself by the signs of it.
So that, yeah.
Not yet.
No, yeah, I know. So that's quite interesting. No, you don't have them. So I guess the obvious question following that, is there more? I mean, I know government isn't here, or whoever, education establishments or skills people, if Skills Development Scotland were in the room, is there any more that they could be doing in this space, to try and make sure there is a pipeline? So I know you've said, Michael, you're doing it yourself, but, for start-up businesses, that's probably more of a challenge to kind of get the business up and running and create a pipeline of talent, at the same time. I just wonder if there's, again, it comes back to the point we were talking about this morning. How do we talk about the circular economy in a way that everybody gets really excited about this and starts to see this as an opportunity for jobs, opportunity for careers, opportunity for learning, so there is a talent pipeline coming through.
Yeah, I think we have to face into the fact that there's a lack of diversity, and I'm really sorry to bring it up, but I'm the only girl here. Do you know what I mean? And it's not just about females, it's across the board, and I think celebrating diversity and having that mindset shift where, don't ask me how to spell it, okay? But we all want homophily, so we attract, people that are the same really as you, and you have to really fight against it. And that's about celebrating diversity for me. So I think it's about keeping that mindset very, very open. And if you don't have it, really, really focus in on getting it. Do you know what I mean? So we were a staff of 15 people, and we didn't have anybody that was registered disabled. So we went out and we sought, the programme, and we made sure that there would be a role to balance that diversity. You have to face into that, I think. And that means that you become more open, not just as a business, but you can then help the public sector to be able to face into that as well.
Yeah, I think for us, we've been very fortunate. We, have a lot of support from like Scottish Enterprise. We just won a Green Jobs Award to help us with salaries. And there's a lot of these programs out there that will help, businesses grow, SMEs grow and things like that. But I haven't seen a lot of assistance with recruiting. So I think international global recruiting, if we wanted to help bring the talent in, and it goes more than enabling the visa. Talent Scotland's been great. They're very supportive. SE's been great in sponsoring. Myself included my visa coming over. But you have relocation expenses, which is a huge expense for a startup company. I ended up bearing some of my own relocation expenses because a small company can't afford to do that. If there were programs or grants that could help really attract talent, make the visas very easy, because that process can be really difficult to get through, and then to help with relocation expenses. I think because you have to go beyond the borders of Scotland, beyond the borders of the UK. Talk about diversification. Some of the most talented, biotech people are definitely in other countries, in Asia and other places that we don't have that same skill set necessarily here, and we do have a lot. But a lot of it's in pharmaceuticals, right? A lot of it's in different areas. But this is an emerging science. So for us, if we could recruit from other countries and bring people in that have the skill sets, people who have the willingness, people who want to be here, by enabling us to, pay for the recruiting fees, which are quite expensive, relocation fees and visa expenses. So for us, it would be a great program.
Can I say that although I maybe gave you the impression we did it ourselves, we had a lot of support. There's a lot of organisations out there. I mean, for instance, it was April the 1st, 2019, that we actually sat down with somebody from Euroldot, the Resource Efficient Scotland. Yeah. We actually had somebody from the Skills Development Scotland. We had somebody from Scottish Enterprise, or two people from Scottish Enterprise, and someone from the SQA. And we sat round and we actually worked out a plan going forward. So we had a lot of support. On top of that, we've sort of, every year we've increased our network of universities. If we're not using things like knowledge transfer partnerships, which is an absolutely fantastic scheme, where you're getting somebody, the intellect, away beyond anything that me and my team are able to do, concentrating on things, specific subjects. We've also got a PhD student coming in at the moment to look at increasing activity in the workplace through Glasgow University, Glasgow Caledonian University. We've got graduate apprenticeships, we've got modern apprenticeships, we're looking at a foundation apprenticeship. But what I would say to you is there's a lot of funding disparities with a lot of these models. There's models not existing in terms of foundation apprenticeships. They're very, very narrow. In terms of innovation hubs, there's nothing really specific to my industry or your industry. It's too broad, and that would help as well. In terms of qualifications, it would be good to, for instance, Glasgow Caledonian have got two cracking master's programs, but they're delivered in New York. One's in sustainable fashion and the other one's in social justice. Absolutely incredible. And by the way, we're going to have somebody going on it next year. But these are things that are out there. So there is a lot more that could be done, but there is a lot actually happening, and it's really good.
Great. Thanks. No, I think from our side, the real problem that we've had is trying to get young people that have come from all over Europe with masters up to a skills level that they're particularly useful for us on the fermentation biotech side. And I mean, we've, like you, doubled over lockdown. We're now at 25 people, and we've raised 4 million, and we're looking to double again next year. And that leaves us with quite a significant hole in terms of qualified people. And so what we've been looking to do is work with the universities where we can drive some of the fermentation stuff from our side in projects through PhDs, and then recruit the PhD qualified person off the back end of that. And the key challenge that we've had is that it's taken us more than a year to get some of the IP negotiations through with some of the universities, just on the onerous nature of some of those deals. And that can be quite prohibitive to us. And I admittedly am rather pushed to try and do that again. And that's for a real route for us to get skilled people through. They've made it very difficult. And I think the other point to raise is that we were probably 3/4 European as a company before Brexit, and we've started to see a complete shift that we're not getting any European applicants anymore, and we've got quite a significant talent pool that's disappeared from our options. And so we've tried to go further out, and we've tried to go further afield, but we're just not seeing that willingness to come across either, especially with the prospects of IndieRef and the rest of it. People are a little bit unsure as to moving across from Europe or from Asia to try and settle up and then not know what's going to happen.
Yeah, as I said earlier, we've attracted people from about 20 countries to come here. I think, you know, to some extent it's the purpose, to some extent it's the novelty of what we're doing. But we found the Saltire program incredibly helpful. Last year, at the beginning of the summer, we were about 40 people, and we took on 15. I mean, that proportionally is absolutely huge. But we then gave jobs to about 4 of them. This year, when we were going from 100 to 150, we took on 21. More than half of the STEM Saltire scholars that we had were women. And that was really, really exciting. And I agree with you, Joe, but you know, I actively go out and hire people who are not like me, because I've actually got no skills or qualifications at all. So it would be pointless hiring anyone like me. Going back to diversity, shameless plug, down on the Broomielaw, we've spent £500,000 building an interactive educational facility. We're getting 50 schools through during the 2 weeks. It's free to the public. You can just rock up. And in the middle of this thing, which has got panels all around the world talking, the walls talking about different parts of the world, food and ag, UN climate change targets, what vertical farming can do, how it works with trad farming. In the middle is a 5.5 meter high vertical farm, and you can go up to this lectern and say where you come from, and the LED lights turn into your national flag. Do you know the most popular flag by far is the rainbow? So the diversity flag, and that has been easy. And we put that one up when Nicola Sturgeon came in, and she absolutely loved it. She couldn't decide whether to do that or the Saltire. But please come down. It's free if you know what 3 words, plant fades weedy. If you don't know what 3 words, it's on the Broomielaw between Carrick and McAlpine, and it will be open until 2 o'clock on Friday. And that's one of our ways of giving something back so that we can educate kids what this thing's about.
Okay, that's a great place to leave it, I'm afraid. But you do yourself a disservice. You do a very mean hog roast, I seem to remember. It was very sustainably sourced hog roast, I seem to remember.
2 miles outside the village.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. So, but I'd also recommend that visit that David just talked about, because I was going to finish on, you know, the absolutely expression of potential from all of you, not just for your individual businesses, but you know, the impact that you're having and more on the environment, and you know, the visibility when you go, the visible potential that you see when you go and see David's set up on the Broomielaw is quite amazing. You know, if you can imagine it, you can see it, and you can hear what David's been talking about, how that can be replicated, you know, around all the opportunities that you've described. So I think, absolutely, thank you again. I think you've echoed some of this as well, you know, from the first session, the potential that there seems to be plenty of money coming down the pipe, so to speak, but we're hearing now there's plenty of passion for this. There's plenty of potential, and there's plenty of impact to be had, and not just here in Scotland, which is obviously, you know, a big driving force for all of you, but also that potential to do good, you know, outside of Scotland, and to export that opportunity. So perhaps something around skills that we just need to bear in mind. You know, if we're going to realise these opportunities, we might just have to think about skills. But that's something we could take away, certainly in the conversations I have with the likes of government and STS. Something that we're very passionate about as well, to make sure that people, you know, as people start to understand a little bit more about climate change and tackling it, that they're thinking about the circular processes that we need to have, and reducing consumption and the opportunities. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Michael, Joe, David, and Craig, and Douglas. It's been fantastic to have you and host you here in Glasgow, and we'd like to just thank everybody in the usual way. Thank you very much.